Shit on. Yes, y'all. Good morning, people. Good afternoon. Good evening. What time it is. Where you at right now? We got some important things to talk about. Certain things I want to express today. Because we living in times where a lot of shit is changing right now. A lot of shit is changing, and I don't know. I kind of like what's going on right now when it comes to my black people right now. Let me fix this shit real quick so y'all can really just. Yes, here we go. So, you know what I'm saying? All my black folks worldwide is waking up right now. And the thing is, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got currently in Africa, you got all the countries, majority of the countries is starting to get fed up with the um, colonizer system that is still in place in Africa. And I am speaking from an African perspective because I am African. I'm not a black American. I'm African. I'm, my father is from Togo, West Africa, and I spent there a lot of time of my life, and I'm still traveling there every once in a while. I got my own property in Africa, and such. And I'm actually building a hotel currently in West Africa, Togo. So if you guys ever want to travel to Africa, I'm gonna take you to some of the most beautiful spots in my country, Togo. It's right next to Ghana. Actually, Ghana and Togo was once one country before these colonizers split it up. So, like as some of y'all know, like a lot of Black Americans like to travel to Ghana because Ghana is an English speaking country and it's very developed. Uh, and a lot of celebrities travel to Ghana, such as 19 Keys, Cardi B, Luke Fiasco, Chance the Rap. A lot of there's festivals there too. So it's a very known place for Americans to travel to. What I want to say is I'm from the country right next to it called Togo. We actually speak the same language, native language, like the Ghanaians, because we were once one country, one tribe, right? So speaking from an African perspective, uh, being that I also lived in America, like I lived in New York and such. Um, and traveled to many cities in America. I also have an American perspective, and I'm only speaking for my people, Black Americans and Africans. Uh, is that it's like right now there's a Black Revolution happening, and I really hope that is happening. It's not taking place already, but I hope soon it'll take place. So what's happening in Africa right now is that all the presidents and the governments, African governments, they are tired of the European system that still takes place, that's still ruling these countries behind the curtain, right? Because like France has a lot of colonies in Africa, and they depend on these colonies because of the raw materials. Because France is actually only living off the back of Africa. If they wouldn't have these colonies, France would be a third world country. Yes, that's how bad it is. And it's like that with a lot of European countries. They just come and rob and steal all of the raw materials in Africa. So do Americans. You know, every cell phone, every computer has raw materials from Africa, imported to Africa, imported from Africa, exported from Africa. So as you see, now that my African people are being fed up, they're tired of this shit. That we just stripping them butt naked, and they want to close the borders for France right now. They want to like they tired of this shit because they're being robbed. They're being robbed, and that's not how it goes. You know, like they've been doing this for so many years that now the newer generation that is coming up in Africa, the whole new African generation, they are smart. You know, we got the internet and all that stuff, and they seeing all this stuff, and they're making their own researches and smarting up, and they tired of this shit, right? They're really tired of this shit, and they want to change that. They want to build their own economy. They want to develop their countries now after all these years being behind uh, uh, compared to the rest of the world, right? So, and we got all the raw materials. We got all the gold. We got all the diamonds. We got all the lithium. Whatever you could desire, that we have it on our continent. You know what I'm saying? And it's not only raw materials, it's also food. Everything grows. You got all the fruits. Like when I go back to my country, like there's so many fruits and it costs nothing. It costs nothing. You could pay like 10 cents for a mango, you know? And it's a simple life. You can really like free your mind in Africa. For real. The whole continent is like that. But the problem is with the governments is that the governments are so militant because they've been colonized that it's every government is just a militant government. So what they do is they put the fear in people and they rule the countries in a militant way. That means there's military everywhere, and they just want you to obey. But if you got money, you the most of the countries are corrupt. So if you got money, you can just pay everybody, all the soldiers and everything, and they'll leave you alone. And you can actually do whatever you want, right? That's what all the rich folks do over there. And at the same time, when you poor and you broke, you can't do shit because you gotta just obey the government, right? So that's more or less how it works in Africa right now. But there's so many rich people in Africa. You will see mansions you've never seen before. And that's what most people get it twisted at. They only see the stuff that's going on in TV. But like in my neighborhood where I live in my country, you will see mansions that's huge that look like the White House. For real. And it's regular people living in it in Africa. And nobody talks about this shit. There's hella rich people in Africa. Balling. I'm talking about people that went to Europe, worked for a while, put some money aside, and then went back and built their own stuff because it's 5 times cheaper in Africa than it is in Europe or in the States. You know, everything is cheaper. Construction is cheaper. Everything is cheaper. The material is cheaper. Everything is cheaper. You feel me? So what I wanted to hop on to say here is that once Black Americans built that connection between Africa and Black America, it's going to be over for this world. It's going to be over for this world. Because what's happening right now, the Chinese and the Russians, they kind of act like they support Africa, but I think they just want their own benefits because we got everything. We got every continent wants a piece of Africa because we have all the shit you need, right? And what we supposed to do is take control of our own shit, and then we gonna be the most balling continent in the world. But that's not happening because they locked everything down from such a long time ago already with the colonies. They already locked it down once they colonized all these countries, so they have all the resources for themselves. So right now we kind of trying to cut that. We're trying to cut that connection from the ancient colonies and built our own stuff. And each country has to do that. So it's going to be a long journey. It's probably really going to be a war, but it's going to be worth it because once that shit is done, we can finally build our own empire and take care of our own resources and make our own money with it. And then we're gonna be the richest motherfuckers ever in this world. Like for real, no joke. We're gonna be the richest people on this planet. But it's not gonna happen tomorrow. You feel me? But what I wanted to say, what's happening right now, like the Russians and the Chinese, they taking care, like they kind of like act like they support Africa, but they just want their own benefits and such. So the Chinese and the Russian, that's a huge population, right? So once you take Black America and unite it with Africa, that's when you have a strong force. Because the Black Americans, with all the experience they made in the U.S., it made them strong spirits. Like the Black American is a strong spirited, is a broad, strong spirited individual, whether it's the female or the male. Like Black Americans are strong with all the stuff they've been through with the slavery and the whole upcoming in the United States after slavery, all the struggles and hassles. They they made a certain experience that made them strong. So Africans are strong anyway. So once you unite Black America with Africa, once you create that link, which is happening right now, like you got people like 19 Keys traveling there and building these links for the development of Africa, like Akon and all these people, right? They trying to build up these links. But once the Black American fully sees that bridge and can access that bridge to Africa and learn about the economy of Africa, what's the benefits of Africa, how to make money in Africa, only for Black Americans. Once he gains that access and he can help the development of his own brothers and sisters in Africa, it's gonna be a wrap for the world. It's gonna be a wrap. That's when we fully dominate the world because I know exactly once we have that power, we're not going to abuse it like white people do. White people gain power and abuse it and try to dominate over other people and oppress them. But Black people, I don't really think that once we have gained back our power that we're going to do the same shit like white people do. I really don't believe that because we're just going to be chill and laid back and trying to live a good life, right? But we have to heal from our traumas. Like Black people have the most traumas from every race. Black people have the most traumas, so they have the most healing to do. So that's the path that we gotta focus on, in my opinion. That's the path we gotta focus on. And right now, what's happening is a lot of African countries are waking up. You got South African politicians who are waking up, who wants to free themselves from the white man in Africa. You got things that's going on in Niger. People are tired of France. The things that's going on in Burkina Faso. Like you got this young president who's a general, and he completely wants to cut off France. You know what I'm saying? It's probably going to be a war against the Europeans because they don't want to lose their resources, right? They don't want to lose their resources. You know what I'm saying? They depend on that so badly. So if that war breaks out, Africa is going to be forced to unite because they can't win all these. It can't be like every country for himself has to then fight against the European colonies because that's how we're gonna lose. You know what I'm saying? All these countries have to unite for the same cause because they all go undergoing the same oppression. So once these countries all unite for the same cause, it's gonna be a wrap. It's gonna be over. They're not gonna have any chance against that. So yeah, and and the Black Americans, they have to find that bridge to Africa. They have to see how beneficial it is because most of the niggas in America they just think yeah you're an African booty scratcher or whatever, but they don't even know how rich this continent is and how much opportunity that is in Africa. There is so much opportunity, man. Like my father, he just bought himself a gold mine. He bought property and there was a gold mine on it. Now imagine that you just buy a property and that motherfucker. These motherfuckers don't cost a lot. You can buy property for $2,000 for real, and it's a huge property. You know what I'm saying? You might be sitting on a gold mine without even knowing because that's just raw materials, resources everywhere, and people haven't even discovered everything. This continent is huge. It's huge. It's one of the largest continents in the world. So much land, and yeah. You know what I'm saying? We have to stop being ignorant, man. We have to stop being ignorant and open our minds and really see, man, hey, understand the history. If you understand the history, you will see that the black man has been on every land first. So all the black people are one family. We are united. We are one big family tree, right? So you gotta understand the history and be like, hey, shit, look at my cousins up in Africa. They're undergoing this and that. We are undergoing this and that. If we can unify over here to do for this cause and do that, make moves, political moves that will be beneficial in the future. Because right now technology is evolving. Technology is evolving fast as fuck right now. You know what I'm saying? We got all the technology that can connect us. You can connect with people immediately. You know what I'm saying? And build plans immediately. And we gotta use all that shit. We gotta use all that stuff. And this shit got me hyped, man. I'm motivated because I can see a developed Africa is gonna be that's paradise. I'm trying to tell you, that's paradise. I'm currently building my own house plus a hotel in Africa, and it's right at the beach. It's beautiful. You can contact me on Instagram if you're interested in coming. It really costs nothing. Like you know, the expenses in Africa, like it's a huge difference than in Europe or in the United States because it literally costs nothing. The life in Africa, it costs nothing. You can live easily with a lot of with less money. So I need y'all to wake up, man. I need y'all to find interest in this kind of stuff because the future depends on it. The future depends on it, and as a black man, don't forget that we supposed to evolve. Don't just sit in the corner hopeless and think there is nothing we can do. No, find the links. Go research history, the real history, not the history that has been given, and really find out the truth and see where you can aid. See where you can be a helping hand. You know, because because if we really gonna do that shit, I'm telling you, we gonna be the strongest force on this planet. And I said it in another video on this YouTube chat channel. I said that black people are a myth because we don't own shit, so we don't exist. As long as we don't own something, we don't really exist. So we're just a myth, right? We don't own a country that is really ruled by black people without any white folks pulling the strings behind the curtain, right? That doesn't exist right now in this day and time, right? Every African country or black country, whether it's Caribbean, whether it's African, whether it's Aboriginal, whether it's whatever, there's always white folks pulling the strings behind the curtain for their own benefit. So we don't own nothing till this day. There might be a couple of black owned business in America and everything, but they own the system, so they're still gonna tax your ass and make money off you at the end of the day. So a completely black owned country or corporate or business or whatever doesn't exist. And this is where we need to head to with all our raw materials and resources from Africa, and with all our knowledge, and with all our with all the experience we've been through in the U.S. This is where we need to head to, and we need to build that link. And once that is happening, we'll be a united force that's gonna be unstoppable. You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna play with us anytime soon. You know. Yeah, bro. That's what it is.